Hello, beautiful damsels. Master manipulators don't fear control slipping away. They fear those who see right through them. Fact. Studies show that manipulation thrives on emotional blind spots. But what happens when the target is immune to those blind spots? Enter the Sigma female, a rare breed of independent, perceptive, and utterly untouchable women. Men who attempt to manipulate Sigma females are like magicians performing tricks for someone who knows all the secrets. And no, they don't just politely smile and nod. They either dismantle the illusion or walk away mid-show without a second glance. Spoiler alert, it's not the manipulator who controls the stage, it's the Sigma female. Buckle up, because what you're about to discover isn't just how they spot manipulation, but how they obliterate it with a finesse that's equal parts savage and sophisticated. Number 1. Projection deflection. When manipulators try to shift blame or guilt onto a Sigma female, they quickly discover they're playing a losing game. Manipulation thrives on projection, getting someone to take responsibility for feelings or failures that aren't theirs. But Sigma females don't carry emotional baggage they didn't pack. They see projection for what it is, a desperate attempt to shift discomfort or accountability. And they don't just dodge it, they send it back with interest. Here's how it works. The manipulator may try to stir feelings of guilt with subtle comments like, "If you really cared, you'd have done it this way," or "I wouldn't be in this situation if you hadn't acted that way." Most people would feel cornered and start justifying their actions, falling into the trap. But Sigma females don't take the bait. They've trained themselves to separate their identity from the emotional noise being thrown at them. Instead of engaging defensively, they respond with statements that deflect the manipulation cleanly and confidently. A calm, "That sounds like something for you to figure out," or "Your reaction is your responsibility," shuts down the manipulator's attempt to shift blame before it even gets off the ground. There's no anger or aggression, just an unshakable refusal to absorb guilt that doesn't belong to them. What's fascinating is how this unnerves manipulators. They rely on emotional chaos to gain control, but Sigma females are experts at maintaining emotional order. No matter how much the manipulator twists the narrative, the Sigma remains grounded in her own truth. By refusing to internalize projection, Sigma females force manipulators to face their own behavior, and when someone can't use guilt or blame as weapons, they often lose interest entirely. This isn't just self-defense. It's a power move that reclaims emotional autonomy. And it leaves manipulators exactly where they belong, dealing with the consequences of their own actions. Number 2. Cold-blooded non-reaction. Sigma females have mastered the art of cold-blooded non-reaction, a skill that sends manipulators into a downward spiral. Manipulation thrives on eliciting emotional responses, whether it's anger, guilt, or confusion. The manipulator's goal is to pull strings and watch their target dance. But with Sigma females, those strings don't work. Instead of reacting emotionally, they meet manipulation with an unnerving calm that's borderline intimidating. When a manipulator throws out insults, guilt trips, or subtle digs, they're fishing for a reaction. Most people would be drawn into the trap, defending themselves or trying to smooth things over. But Sigma females, they don't flinch. There's no rush to explain, no heated rebuttal, and no visible sign that the manipulator has even scratched the surface. It's not indifference. It's a calculated refusal to hand over control. This lack of reaction throws manipulators into a state of confusion and frustration. They're used to controlling situations by steering emotions, but with a Sigma, they're left flailing. Every attempt to escalate or provoke is met with the same steady, unshakable composure. The more they push, the more desperate they become, and that desperation often leads to their own self-sabotage. What makes this tactic so powerful is that it flips the script entirely. Instead of being the one manipulated, the Sigma female becomes the one holding all the power. She doesn't need to argue or defend herself. Her silence and calm speak volumes. And while manipulators may thrive on drama, Sigma females thrive on peace, which makes this approach a natural fit for them. Cold-blooded non-reaction isn't about suppressing emotions, it's about emotional mastery. It's knowing that you don't have to play a game just because someone else invited you to the board. And in that refusal to engage, Sigma females strip manipulators of their power, leaving them scrambling with nowhere to go. Number 3. Emotional X-ray vision. Sigma females possess what can only be described as emotional X-ray vision, a razor-sharp intuition that cuts through surface-level words and actions to uncover hidden motives. Manipulators, no matter how skilled, find themselves exposed the moment they step into the ring with a Sigma. While others may be swayed by charm or subtle deception, Sigma females are wired differently. They don't just hear what's being said, they analyze the energy, tone, body language, and unspoken undertones beneath every interaction. This isn't guesswork or paranoia, it's an innate skill honed through experience and self-awareness. They've seen enough emotional games to recognize the signs instantly. A forced compliment, a sudden shift in attitude, or an overly rehearsed excuse, none of it slips past their radar, and once they detect something off, they go straight into analysis mode. It's like they have a mental checklist that filters out genuine behavior from manipulative tactics. What's even more unnerving for manipulators is that Sigma females don't always call them out immediately. Sometimes they'll let the manipulator carry on, quietly observing and collecting data. This calculated patience allows them to understand the full scope of the manipulator's intentions before making a move. And when they do respond, it's with precision. Whether it's a calm but pointed remark that exposes the manipulator's real agenda or a complete withdrawal from the situation, their actions are always deliberate and effective. Manipulators often thrive on people second-guessing themselves or being too trusting. But Sigma females don't second-guess. They trust their instincts implicitly. The moment they sense insincerity, they're already 2 steps ahead, mapping out exactly how to neutralize the situation. This ability to dissect manipulation at its root leaves manipulators feeling exposed, powerless, and more often than not, defeated. Emotional X-ray vision isn't just a defense mechanism, it's a weapon that Sigma females wield with effortless mastery. Number 4. Psychological countermapping. Sigma females are masters of psychological countermapping. The moment they detect manipulation, they don't just react, they strategize. Instead of being pulled into the manipulator's game, they mentally reverse engineer the entire situation. Every word, action, and subtle cue is dissected to reveal the underlying strategy. Once they understand the manipulator's playbook, they begin blocking every move before it even happens. This process is almost surgical in its precision. Sigma females analyze patterns and recognize tactics for what they are, attempts to control or influence them through emotional, social, or psychological means. Whether it's gaslighting, guilt-tripping, or passive aggression, they see it all coming like chess moves being played 5 steps ahead. But what makes this tactic so powerful is how quietly it's done. Manipulators often rely on confusion or emotional chaos to gain the upper hand, but Sigma females don't give them the satisfaction. Instead of getting defensive or escalating the situation, they maintain an eerie calm while subtly dismantling the manipulator's efforts. They may redirect conversations, ask pointed questions, or respond with neutral statements that neutralize emotional bait. The manipulator's attempts are met with walls they didn't even realize were there. Sometimes, Sigma females will even mirror the manipulator's tactics to reflect their own behavior back at them. It's not about playing dirty. It's about showing the manipulator that their tricks are transparent and ineffective. The more the manipulator pushes, the more they find themselves trapped in their own strategy. Psychological countermapping leaves manipulators frustrated and disarmed. They realize too late that every move they made was anticipated and blocked before it could take root. And since Sigma females are relentless in their self-awareness and boundary setting, the manipulator is eventually left with no choice but to give up or retreat. It's not just self-defense, it's a strategic victory that leaves no room for further manipulation. Number 5. Strategic invisibility. Sigma females excel at strategic invisibility, the ability to make themselves emotionally and mentally invisible to manipulators. This doesn't mean they disappear physically or retreat from the situation entirely. Instead, they become emotionally unreachable, a fortress with no visible entrances. Manipulators thrive on reactions, whether it's anger, frustration, or guilt. But when a Sigma female refuses to give any emotional feedback, it's like trying to grasp smoke. There's nothing to hold on to, no control to seize. When a manipulator throws out bait, be it a subtle jab, a guilt trip, or an attempt to stir anxiety, the Sigma's response is a deliberate void. There's no defensiveness, no attempt to explain or justify, and no outward sign that the manipulator's tactics have even been registered. It's a blank slate, and that silence is deafening to someone who feeds off control. Manipulators expect emotional engagement because it's how they create leverage. Without it, they're left floundering, unsure of how to proceed. What makes this approach so powerful is that it's not passive, it's highly intentional. Sigma females don't ignore manipulation out of avoidance or weakness. They see it, understand it, and choose not to participate. By withholding emotional energy, they starve the manipulator's entire strategy. It's like cutting off the oxygen to a fire. It doesn't take long for it to fizzle out completely. Manipulators often rely on chaos to destabilize their targets, but Sigma females remain an immovable force. Their ability to stay grounded and unaffected creates a psychological wall that's impossible to breach. Over time, the manipulator either exhausts themselves or reveals their true intentions in a final act of desperation. Strategic invisibility isn't about retreating. It's about refusing to play a rigged game. By denying manipulators the reactions they crave, Sigma females strip them of their power and take full control of the interaction. It's a masterclass in emotional self-mastery, and it leaves manipulators with nothing but frustration and defeat. Number 6. Empathy blackout. Sigma females are naturally empathetic, often tuned into the emotions and needs of those around them. However, empathy is not a weakness for them, it's a tool they control. When they sense manipulation or exploitation, they can flip the switch on empathy with cold precision. This empathy blackout is a survival mechanism, and it's as powerful as it is unsettling for manipulators. Manipulators often prey on empathy, knowing it's one of the easiest ways to trigger guilt, obligation, or compliance. They may play the victim, exaggerate their struggles, or twist situations to appear as if they're in need of rescue. While this tactic works on many people, Sigma females aren't so easily duped. The moment they detect insincerity or emotional baiting, they hit the empathy kill switch. This doesn't mean they become heartless or uncaring. It means they refuse to extend emotional energy to those who don't deserve it. They recognize that empathy is a finite resource, and wasting it on someone with manipulative intentions is a form of self-betrayal. By cutting off that energy flow, they deprive the manipulator of one of their greatest weapons. What's particularly intimidating is how sudden and absolute this empathy blackout can be. One moment, a manipulator may think they have the Sigma female wrapped around their finger. The next, they're met with icy detachment and unflinching boundaries. There's no negotiation, no explanations, and no emotional access granted. The manipulator is effectively locked out. This ability to compartmentalize empathy is what keeps Sigma females from being emotional doormats. They refuse to be drained by people who weaponize sympathy or vulnerability. Instead, they reserve their empathy for those who are genuine and deserving, and for those who aren't, they're left out in the emotional cold, facing the reality that manipulation doesn't work on someone who can flip the switch without hesitation. Number 7. The art of ambiguity. Sigma females are masters of controlled ambiguity, and manipulators find this maddening. Manipulators rely on gathering information to understand their target's emotional triggers, desires, or insecurities so they can gain control. But Sigma females play their cards so close to the chest that manipulators are left guessing at every turn. They reveal just enough to keep interactions polite or neutral, but never enough to hand over leverage. When a manipulator asks probing questions or tries to steer conversations toward emotionally charged topics, the Sigma female responds with carefully measured vagueness. They might offer non-committal answers, shift the conversation to neutral ground, or respond with something so ambiguous that it leads nowhere. This subtle maneuvering creates an air of unpredictability that manipulators hate. Without clear information, they have no roadmap to work from and no way to anticipate the Sigma's next move. Even in emotionally charged situations, Sigma females maintain this ambiguous stance. If a manipulator tries to provoke a reaction, the Sigma may respond with something like, "That's an interesting perspective," or "We'll see." These statements are deceptively simple, but loaded with power because they offer no emotional fuel and no opening for manipulation. It's like speaking a language manipulators can't decode. This ambiguity isn't about dishonesty. It's about protecting boundaries and refusing to be emotionally vulnerable with those who have ill intentions. By keeping their thoughts and plans private, Sigma females ensure they remain in control of the narrative. Manipulators thrive on certainty and predictability, and when those are taken away, they're left fumbling in the dark. Ultimately, the art of ambiguity is a form of psychological self-defense. It allows Sigma females to stay several steps ahead, holding the upper hand without ever needing to engage in emotional warfare. Manipulators may try every trick in the book, but with nothing solid to grab onto, they're left spinning their wheels in frustration. Number 8. Mirroring manipulation. Sigma females are highly adept at mirroring manipulation, and they do it with a level of control that's both unnerving and effective. When manipulators attempt to pull strings, Sigma females don't react emotionally or get dragged into chaos. Instead, they reflect the behavior right back, allowing the manipulator to experience their own tactics in real time. It's a psychological power move that leaves manipulators exposed and disoriented. For example, if someone tries to guilt-trip a Sigma female by playing the victim or using emotional blackmail, she might respond with a similar calculated level of detachment. She won't escalate the situation or take the bait. Instead, she'll craft her words and actions to mirror the manipulator's tone or approach, but without emotional investment. The result? The manipulator is forced to confront the absurdity or cruelty of their own tactics. This mirroring doesn't come from a place of spite or revenge. It's a strategic tool used to reveal manipulation for what it is. By holding up a metaphorical mirror, Sigma females strip the manipulator of any illusion of control. Suddenly, the manipulator feels the discomfort they were hoping to inflict, only now it's amplified by their inability to manipulate the Sigma. Even subtle behaviors like passive-aggressive remarks or condescending tones can be mirrored back with quiet precision. A Sigma might repeat the manipulator's words verbatim or use the same disinterested tone to reflect the behavior. This sends a powerful message. I see what you're doing and it won't work. The brilliance of this tactic lies in its simplicity. Sigma females don't need to raise their voices, argue, or engage in emotional back and forth. They let the manipulator's behavior become their own undoing. And when someone realizes their games are ineffective or even harmful to themselves, they're often left no choice but to retreat. Mirroring manipulation is the ultimate checkmate move, and Sigma females play it with unshakable confidence. Number 9. Confidence death blow. Sigma females deliver a confidence death blow to manipulators simply by radiating unshakable self-assurance. Manipulation relies on planting seeds of doubt about one's decisions, worth, or perception of reality. But when faced with someone who is grounded and self-possessed, those seeds never take root. Manipulators may try to twist words, fabricate scenarios, or play mind games, but Sigma females see through it all with crystal clarity and respond with firm, unwavering conviction. One of their most powerful tools is their refusal to seek external validation. While many people fall into the trap of justifying themselves or seeking approval, Sigma females don't feel the need to explain their actions or choices to anyone. This detachment from others' opinions makes it nearly impossible for manipulators to find any cracks in their confidence. If a manipulator tries to gaslight or undermine them with subtle criticisms, they respond with quiet strength, perhaps a calm, "That's your perspective, but I know where I stand." That simple statement is often enough to disarm any attempt to create doubt. Manipulators also thrive on creating emotional instability, hoping their target will become flustered and reactive. But Sigma females meet these tactics with a centered calmness that borders on intimidating. Their body language, eye contact, and tone of voice all communicate one thing. They are in complete control of themselves and the situation. This presence alone often sends manipulators into a spiral because they realize they have no leverage. The brilliance of this approach is that it's not about confrontation, it's about standing firm. There's no need for verbal takedowns or dramatic exits. Sigma females simply hold their ground with such authenticity that manipulators feel their control slip through their fingers. The moment manipulation loses its power to create insecurity, it's rendered completely ineffective. And in the face of a Sigma's ironclad confidence, manipulators often find themselves retreating, defeated by their own inability to shake the unshakable. Number 10. Truth bomb deployment. Sigma females are masters of truth bomb deployment, delivering cold, hard truths with precision and timing that completely dismantles manipulation without the need for anger or raised voices. Manipulators thrive on ambiguity and misdirection, relying on half-truths and emotional smokescreens to stay in control. But Sigma females don't play along. They observe, they analyze, and when the moment is right, they drop a truth bomb so powerful, it obliterates the manipulator's entire strategy. What sets Sigma females apart is their restraint. They don't confront manipulators impulsively or out of frustration. Instead, they wait until they've gathered enough information to expose the full extent of the manipulation. And when they speak, it's with clarity and authority. There's no sugarcoating or softening of words, just the unvarnished truth delivered with a calm, measured tone. This approach is especially devastating because manipulators expect defensiveness or emotional reactions. Instead, they're hit with brutal honesty that leaves no room for misinterpretation. For example, if someone tries to gaslight them by distorting reality, a Sigma female might say something like, "You're trying to make me question what I know to be true, and it's not going to work." Simple, direct, and irrefutable. Or if someone plays the victim to guilt trip them, they might respond with, "You're responsible for your choices, and I'm not here to carry that burden for you." These statements don't just expose the manipulation, they shut it down entirely. What makes this tactic so powerful is its finality. There's no debate, no back and forth, and no emotional fuel for the manipulator to latch onto. The truth bomb lands, and the conversation is effectively over. Manipulators often retreat because they know they've been seen for exactly who they are. And for a Sigma female, that's the ultimate goal. Not just neutralizing manipulation, but making it crystal clear that any further attempts will be met with the same unflinching honesty. Number 11. Emotional black hole. Sigma females are like emotional black holes when it comes to manipulation. Any attempts to bait or guilt them are sucked into a void where they simply cease to exist. Manipulators rely on emotional energy to fuel their control, whether through anger, frustration, guilt, or even sympathy. But Sigma females don't absorb that toxic energy. Instead, they create an impenetrable emotional vacuum where the manipulator's efforts are rendered completely ineffective. This isn't about being cold or indifferent. It's about mastering emotional boundaries. Sigma females recognize manipulation the moment it surfaces. When someone tries to provoke them with passive-aggressive comments or guilt trips, they remain unshaken. Instead of reacting or explaining themselves, they offer nothing in return. No energy, no validation, and certainly no emotional engagement. Their response might be as simple as a blank stare, a polite but firm, "That's not my responsibility," or even silence. For manipulators, this is deeply frustrating. They expect their target to absorb the emotional bait, to take it on, and either spiral into self-doubt or lash out. But when the manipulator's toxic energy is met with a void, it implodes on itself. The guilt trips fall flat, the accusations lose their sting, and the emotional chaos they hope to create fizzles into nothingness. Over time, this emotional black hole effect teaches manipulators that Sigma females are not easy targets. There's no energy to feed off of, no reactions to exploit, and no drama to escalate. And without these tools, manipulators are left powerless. What's particularly powerful about this approach is its simplicity. Sigma females don't have to fight, argue, or even explain themselves. By refusing to absorb toxic energy, they stay centered and in control, forcing manipulators to either change their tactics or walk away entirely. It's a quiet yet devastatingly effective way to maintain emotional sovereignty and protect their inner peace. Sigma females are the ultimate disruptors of manipulation, embodying a level of emotional intelligence, self-mastery, and strategic precision that leaves manipulators powerless. Whether it's through unshakable confidence, psychological countermapping, or their ability to deploy cold, hard truths, they don't just block manipulation, they render it obsolete. Their refusal to absorb toxic energy, combined with their relentless determination to protect their boundaries, makes them a force few can reckon with. But what truly sets them apart is their mastery of choice. They choose when to engage and when to disappear, when to be empathetic and when to switch it off. Manipulators expect chaos and confusion, but with Sigma females they get clarity, control, and unyielding boundaries. Ultimately, their strength doesn't come from playing the manipulator's game. It comes from rewriting the rules entirely. Sigma females operate on their own terms, and in doing so, they make it clear. Manipulation has no place in their world. It's a quiet, confident power that doesn't just dismantle control. It reclaims it, leaving manipulators outplayed and outclassed at every turn. If you enjoyed this deep dive into the unstoppable power of Sigma females and how they dismantle manipulation, make sure to hit that subscribe button for more bold, insightful content like this. Don't forget to like the video if it resonated with you. Every click helps share this message of strength and self-mastery with more people. We'd love to hear from you, so drop a comment below. Share your thoughts, experiences, or any tactics you've used to shut down manipulation. And if you know someone who could benefit from this knowledge, don't hesitate to share it with them. Let's build a community of people who own their power and live life on their terms. Stay sharp, stay strong, and we'll see you in the next one.